is nearing the end of its ability to support human life, with diseases spreading rapidly and rising temperatures making the planet increasingly unlivable. As conditions continue to worsen, scientists begin searching for another world where humanity can survive. In 2063, they discover a suitable planet and explain that it could become a future home for mankind. Because the journey will take 86 years, the mission is designed so the crew will have children during the voyage, allowing the third generation born aboard the spacecraft to arrive at the destination. To prepare for this, scientists create the crew through genetic engineering, combining the DNA of some of Earth's brightest minds. Experts explain that the mission will depend on children who are raised and carefully trained from birth for this single purpose.
So the crew will reproduce.
The next challenge is deciding when the mission should begin. Sending a younger crew would help conserve supplies during the long journey, but Richard worries that children left on their own may not be capable of handling the enormous responsibility of operating a spacecraft. Later, he visits the secure facility where the children are being raised, wearing protective equipment before entering. The children are excited to see him as he checks on their education, before later putting Christopher, Sella, and Zach to bed. While putting Zach to bed, the boy admits that he is scared, and Richard gently reassures him that he has nothing to fear. The following day, Richard meets with the woman overseeing the mission, and he insists that he should accompany the children so he can guide them and keep them safe throughout the entire journey.
It's not part of the plan.
You'll be able to launch sooner if I go with him.
Richard's request is approved, and his presence on the mission allows the launch to move forward in just 4 years instead of 7. When the day finally arrives, the crew boards the shuttle, which transports them to the spacecraft Humanitus. After successfully docking, everyone enters the vessel and settles into their assigned living quarters. Before the journey truly begins, Richard takes one final look at Earth, knowing he will never see it again. 10 years pass, and the children have grown into young adults. They wake up and follow the same carefully structured routine every single day. During one lesson, they learn that they are the bridge between the past and future generations, and that the process of creating the next generation will begin once they reach the age of 24. The crew carries out their daily activities with very little emotion, almost like machines programmed to perform the same tasks. They regularly drink a mysterious blue liquid. Christopher and Zach spend time listening to classical music, and Sella quietly walks through the ship while silently staring out into the endless darkness of space. Later, Sella speaks with Richard and admits that she feels the crew's lives have little value beyond completing the mission. Hoping to change her perspective, Richard shows her photographs of his grandparents and explains that making sacrifices for future generations is what gives their lives true meaning. That night, Christopher struggles to fall asleep as those thoughts continue lingering in his mind. Unable to sleep, Christopher lies awake listening to the constant sounds of the ship echoing around him.
My grandparents. I never knew them, but I know they lived an honest life.
The following day, he and Richard inspect the plants in the hydroponics bay when Christopher notices a warning about a toxic substance in the water supply. Believing it might be a chemical left over from the crew's recycled waste system, he asks Richard about it, but Richard quickly dismisses the concern without offering much of an explanation. Christopher remains suspicious and cannot shake the feeling that something is being hidden from them. Later, Christopher brings up the substance, identified as T56J, with Zach. Since they cannot find any information about it, they decide to investigate further that night. Christopher manages to bypass the ship's security system and gains access to the hidden files. They discover that the mysterious chemical is mixed into the blue liquid everyone drinks every day. At first, Zach assumes it is meant to help with digestion, but they soon learn its real purpose. The substance suppresses emotions, desires, and pleasure, making the crew obedient and emotionally detached. It is being used to prevent natural relationships and stop the population from growing beyond the ship's limits.
They're drugging us.
Christopher and Zach immediately stop drinking the blue liquid. They later reveal everything they discovered to Kai and Julie, including the existence of a concealed section of the ship. During a later meeting with Richard, Christopher lets him know that he is aware important information has been hidden from the crew, though he only mentions the secret compartment known as Pod 23. Richard tells Christopher that there must have been a reason the mission leaders kept certain details secret, suggesting that the hidden pod could be intended for the third generation of the crew.
But where's my pleasure?
After their meeting, Richard sends a message to Earth asking for permission to tell the crew the truth before they completely lose trust in him. Since the ship is so far from Earth, he knows it will take a long time before he receives a reply. The following day, Christopher begins noticing feelings he has never experienced before. While standing close to Selah as they wait in line together, he starts looking at her more closely, noticing her skin and the movement of her arm, imagining things he has never thought about before. During lunch, he keeps watching her until Zach approaches and points out that she has been acting differently. When Zach grabs her and tells her how he has been feeling since he stopped taking the blue drink, Richard steps in and reminds him to follow the ship's rules.
No grabbing, Zach.
I wasn't grabbing.
Later, Christopher and Zach spar in the gym, but the match quickly becomes far more aggressive than usual, leaving the rest of the crew standing still as they watch them with confusion. Soon, they begin running around the ship, and as the effects of the drug continue to wear off, Christopher and Zach become much more aware of the strange sounds echoing through the spacecraft. They follow the noises to an observation room, where another crew member joins them. Together, they speculate about the source of the sounds, with one of them suggesting it could be some form of alien life. Meanwhile, Selah meets with Richard in his office, where he shows her dried plants that were brought from Earth. Richard carefully takes the plants out and gives them to Selah so she can smell them while explaining the benefits and importance of each one. Christopher and Zach overhear them talking and walk toward the room. When Zach sees Richard place a hand on Selah's shoulder, he becomes jealous because he is not allowed to touch her while Richard can. Soon after, the ship loses communication with Earth because of a transmitter malfunction, and Richard announces that the transmitter must be repaired. He chooses Zach to accompany him while everyone else continues with their assigned duties. As preparations begin, Zach approaches Selah again while she explains the spacesuit he will be wearing. He starts touching her and behaves inappropriately toward her. Richard arrives just as Selah is trying to push Zach away and quickly pulls him away from her. When Richard demands an explanation, Zach runs off instead of answering. While searching for him, Richard meets Phoebe, who reveals that Zach has stopped drinking the blue liquid and that she saw him pouring it out instead of drinking it. Richard continues searching for Zach and eventually finds Christopher. As he asks him about Zach and tells him that Zach has stopped taking the blue drink, Christopher admits that he has also stopped drinking the blue liquid. The two argue over what has happened.
You gotta try to be good.
Why? We're just gonna die in the end, so why can't we do what we want?
Christopher begins accusing Richard of drugging them, but Richard explains that the substance was created to prevent exactly the kind of emotional reactions and uncontrolled behavior Zach has been displaying. He asks Christopher to help repair the transmitter so that, once communication with Earth is restored, he can support Richard when he explains the situation to Mission Control. Meanwhile, the rest of the crew takes their positions around the ship as preparations begin for the spacewalk. Zach enters the systems room, asking who went with Richard to repair the damage, while Richard and Christopher leave the spacecraft to repair the transmitter. Christopher struggles with unfamiliar emotions and sensations after stopping the drug, so Richard keeps a close eye on him throughout the mission outside. Richard repairs one of the damaged transmitter components before moving on to the second. Inside the ship, the strange noises return, causing the crew members to become increasingly nervous and unsettled. They use the cameras to check the area around the spacecraft to see if anything is nearby, but suddenly an unknown object appears on the monitor beside Richard and Christopher. The force of the encounter throws Richard away from the ship, while the spacecraft also begins experiencing serious malfunctions.
We have a fire in the systems room.
No one understands what has happened, and a fire breaks out inside the systems room. Christopher manages to bring Richard back into the ship, where he is immediately taken to the medical area. As the crew struggles to control the situation, failures begin appearing across the ship, affecting navigation, communication, and several other critical systems. Selah and the medical team do everything they can to save Richard, but their efforts fail, and Richard passes away. Selah, the ship's chief medical officer, officially confirms that he has died. The crew gathers to discuss Richard's death and the strange events that occurred outside the ship. They talk about the unusual sounds they have been hearing, and one crew member explains that he saw something appear on the monitor at the exact moment Richard was attacked.
I just don't understand. What actually happened?
He describes it as a strange force that seemed to enter Richard, making everyone believe there could be an unknown presence involved, and the crew quickly begins to panic. Phoebe becomes emotional, but Christopher tries to calm everyone down and reminds them that they need to stay focused if they want to survive. After the systems restart, the crew reviews the surveillance records to find out what happened, but the footage has been lost because the fire damaged the systems room. With Richard gone, they must select a new leader. Zach argues that he should take the position, but the others decide that the role should be chosen through a vote instead.
And the new chief officer is Christopher.
Christopher receives the most support and becomes the new chief officer. Although Zach feels jealous and disappointed, he still congratulates Christopher. Christopher then tells the crew that their first task is repairing the damaged transmitter. He assigns everyone to fix the other problems caused by the fire, leaving the surveillance system as the final repair so they can investigate Richard's death. They remain hopeful that the storage drives survived the damage.
But we can work our way out of this. We'll need the entire crew in the damaged area working on the repairs.
Sela visits Richard's office and begins going through his personal recordings and belongings. When Christopher arrives, she explains that she is responsible for deleting Richard's private archive, even though she does not want to. She shows him Richard's old photographs, and they discuss his memories and the importance of family. Christopher wonders why Richard shared so much of his personal life with her, suspecting they may have been close, but Sela explains that Richard was simply lonely and wanted someone who would understand him and listen to him. They watch Richard's video diary, where he talks about his dedication to the mission and his deep feelings toward the crew he raised.
He showed me his things. He would tell me about his life.
But why?
In one of the recordings, Richard also mentions that his greatest goal was always to protect the crew, leaving Christopher and Sela questioning many things. Later, Christopher searches for the other crew members and finds them gathered in the cantina instead of working at their assigned stations. He becomes frustrated that they have abandoned their duties. Zach explains that the crew is repairing the refrigerators to prevent their remaining food from spoiling, but some supplies will still go bad. He suggests using the extra food for a celebration to mark Christopher becoming the new chief officer. After the meal, Kai tells everyone about the effects of the blue liquid, and the crew decides to stop drinking it, throwing the remaining supply away. Christopher and Sela spend time watching Richard's recordings together, enjoying the memories and laughing at the moments he captured. As they continue spending time together, Christopher begins developing even stronger feelings for her. At the same time, Zach becomes interested in Julie, and he starts touching her face. Before long, the two begin showing affection toward each other, while the rest of the crew quietly watches them. Later, the crew members run through the ship, joking and playing together as they enjoy their new sense of freedom. They continue exploring Richard's personal recordings and belongings out of curiosity. When Sela discovers them inside Richard's quarters, she orders them to leave, but they refuse at first. Zach is the last one to leave, warning Sela that Richard is no longer there to protect her. Christopher asks Zach what happened, and Zach tells him that Sela does not want him to touch her before walking away. Meanwhile, Sela returns to the medical bay and takes a scalpel for protection. Christopher reaches the area before Zach and finds Sela waiting there. When Zach arrives, Christopher distracts him by pretending that he and Sela are having a private moment, causing Zach to leave. Sela initially threatens Christopher with the scalpel because she misunderstands why he is there, but after he explains that he came to help her, she tells him that the real problem is the rest of the crew, who are becoming impossible to control. Christopher leaves and later finds Zach, warning him to stay away from Sela.
Why'd you do that? Think because you're chief officer, you can tell me what to do? I'm telling you as a friend. Stay away from her. I'll do what I want.
At that moment, the strange cracking sound returns. Christopher follows the noise through the ship, while the other crew members begin noticing it as well. Elsewhere, Kai sees Julie getting close to another crew member and reacts with anger. He attacks the man, knocking him away from Julie, and the two quickly begin fighting. Back in the ship's dining room, Christopher tries to restore order among the crew, but they refuse to listen to him. The situation becomes even worse when the crew member who was attacked by Kai earlier turns on him and starts striking him with a tool. Christopher steps in and tries to stop the fight, but the man refuses to back down, forcing Christopher to punch him and finally bring the chaos to an end. He then orders the crew to take care of Kai and the injured crew member before gathering everyone together in the common room.
Let go!
During the meeting, Christopher demands that the violence must end and reminds everyone that repairing the ship has to remain their main priority. Zach challenges his authority, while others argue that continuing the work is pointless because they will not be alive to complete the mission. Christopher explains that their descendants are the ones who will eventually reach the planet, and their responsibility is to make sure future generations have a chance to survive.
And if we don't, the mission won't survive.
Who cares? We won't make it anyway.
But somebody will.
One crew member refuses to enter the system's room, believing that the strange creature is hiding there. He blames Christopher for bringing the unknown presence onto the ship when Richard died. Phoebe suggests repairing the surveillance system so they can discover what really happened, but Zach mocks her idea and dismisses Christopher's leadership as well. He declares that the rules no longer matter and tries to convince the crew that Christopher is not capable of leading them.
I'll make more food.
That's our food, too.
And I'll protect you from the alien, especially if he's inside the ship now. You're just trying to scare them. Are you calling me a liar?
Zach begins telling the crew that he will provide them with more food and guide them so they can kill the alien if it is truly causing their problems. His words cause the crew to question Christopher's leadership and create a division among them. He then starts gathering supporters, claiming that his group will be stronger and better prepared to fight the alien. Many crew members choose to follow him, while others remain loyal to Christopher. Christopher's group decides to repair the surveillance system, despite their fear of entering the system's room.
Come with me.
Christopher enters first to inspect the area, while Zach and his followers move through the ship toward the systems room. Zach and Kai eventually enter the room without realizing that Christopher has already been inside. They move deeper into the area while searching for the creature, and the crew outside begins noticing that something is happening inside. Suddenly, Zach and Kai rush out in fear and quickly seal the room behind them. Zach and Kai return to their group and claim that the alien attacked them inside the systems room.
There was really something in there.
What was it?
I don't know.
Not Christopher?
No.
Meanwhile, Christopher takes the surveillance drive to the medical bay, where he and Sella attempt to watch the footage. They discover that the drive has been damaged, but Christopher tells Sella that he will be able to repair it. Soon after, several other crew members arrive and explain that Zach and Kai entered the systems room, claiming they saw the alien and that it attacked them and destroyed the area. Christopher eventually restores the footage, and everyone begins reviewing the recovered recordings. They discover evidence from the systems room that reveals Zach and Kai were responsible for Richard's death, using an electrical attack before creating the story about an alien. Christopher and the others decide not to reveal the truth immediately and keep the information hidden while they figure out their next move. Christopher and Sella store the drive in her room and discuss Zach's behavior. Christopher believes the crew members are finally showing their true personalities now that the drug is gone, but Sella disagrees and believes Zach and Kai's actions do not represent everyone. Christopher worries that the others may refuse to accept the truth or that he could also lose control. Sella encourages him to stay with her, and the two become closer before eventually sharing a kiss. The next morning, Zach arrives at Sella's door and demands to be allowed inside. When Sella and Christopher open the door, Zach and Kai invite them to a gathering in the cantina. Christopher's group joins the celebration, where the others are already eating. Zach welcomes them before standing up and announcing that he is now the new chief officer. Christopher responds by walking to a monitor and showing the recovered footage of Richard's death. He reveals that Zach was responsible and explains that there was no alien attack, accusing Zach of deceiving the crew. Christopher suggests that Zach remain in his quarters while everyone reviews the situation and decides what should happen next. The crew reacts with anger and confusion.
Is he touching the cable?
Yes, but his gloves are insulated.
Zach killed Richard. He's been lying to you the whole time. But now you know the truth.
Zach eventually admits that he was involved, but he claims he did it to protect everyone because he believed the alien had entered Richard and that Christopher had brought it onto the ship. Zach continues convincing the crew that the alien is still somewhere on the ship and has taken control of one of them. He claims they need to identify the creature and eliminate it before it harms anyone else. The crew accepts his idea, and he turns them against each other by making them suspicious of everyone around them. They target the crew member working in the medical bay, believing he is the alien. Christopher follows the group as they chase him through the ship. Soon enough, they catch him, and Kai attacks first. The others quickly join in until the man is beaten to death. Christopher stands there in disbelief, unable to understand what has happened or what he should do. Afterward, Christopher leads his remaining group to a hidden area of the ship where they can stay safe. At the same time, some of the crew members who followed Zach begin questioning what they have done, but Kai tells them that the man they killed truly had the alien inside him. He scares them further by saying that if they believe he was wrong, they could be the ones carrying the alien.
It's okay. He had the alien inside of him. Unless it's you who has it inside.
No.
Meanwhile, Zach's group enters the medical bay and takes weapons for protection. Christopher and his group discuss their options, with some members believing they are powerless and should surrender. They consider joining Zach's side temporarily and trying to stop him later because his group has weapons while they do not. Sela realizes that Christopher knows about the weapons hidden in the secret compartment on the ship. She remembers seeing Richard mention in one of his video diaries that he knew where they were located.
You know where they are.
I do?
I was watching his video diary and he said you knew about the weapons.
Christopher decides to search for them alone. He opens a hidden section and crawls through the narrow space inside, eventually locating the weapons. However, when he tries to access the compartment, an alarm suddenly sounds, alerting Julie and another crew member nearby. They hear Christopher moving inside the hidden area and report it to Zach. Christopher leaves to find tools that can help him open the compartment, but when he returns, Zach's group is already dismantling the area. The crew members begin questioning whether the strange noise was caused by the alien, but Zach tells them that it was Christopher hiding inside. They open the hidden compartment and discover the weapons. Kai believes they were meant for the third generation, but Zach insists that they were prepared for the current crew. Two members of Christopher's group decide to switch sides and join Zach. Zach demands to know where the remaining members are hiding. Meanwhile, Christopher, Sela, and Phoebe begin planning how they can get close enough to stop him. Christopher suggests killing Zach, but Phoebe refuses and believes there must be another way.
And then I'll kill him.
Kill him.
Or he's gonna kill us.
No, he's not.
Sela watches Zach's group through the surveillance system and notices that they are approaching their location. The group cuts the power and prepares for their arrival. Sela suggests that they should go out and talk to them, explaining that they do not want to fight. When Zach's followers break into the room, Sela tells her group not to fight back. As Christopher is taken away, Sela stops them and asks to speak with Zach privately. She approaches Zach and pretends that she wants to join his group and be with him, but he rejects her and laughs at the idea. At that moment, Phoebe appears and questions whether everyone has completely lost control.
I want to be with you.
You wanna join my group? I bet you do. I'm glad you finally come to your senses.
I'll do anything you want.
Phoebe tries to convince the crew that they still have a choice and do not have to become violent, but they refuse to listen and silence her. Suddenly, Kai attacks and kills her, shocking everyone, including Zach. Instead of stopping him, Zach uses the situation to turn the crew against Christopher once again. Christopher and Sela manage to escape while Zach's group searches the ship for them. The two hide inside a ventilation shaft, but the crew quickly discovers their location. Zach orders some of his followers to check every compartment. One of the crew members discovers that one of the vents has been opened and prepares to enter and investigate, but Zach stops him and fires into the entire ventilation system. Julie warns him that damaging the area could destroy their remaining food supplies. Zach then sends one of his men inside to check whether Christopher and Sela were killed, but they manage to escape once again. Soon after, someone begins shooting at them, forcing Christopher and Sela to search for something they can use for protection.
We should stay. Check the drawers. Try to find something.
Christopher finds a fire extinguisher, and when Kai enters the medical bay while armed, they manage to overpower him. Sela injects him with medication, but the situation goes wrong, and Kai accidentally dies in the process. Zach arrives moments later and fires at them as they quickly run away. Christopher and Sela reach an airlock, where Christopher tells her to put on a spacesuit. He covers the airlock window to prevent Zach from seeing them. When Zach arrives, he immediately begins firing through the barrier. However, the outer hatch opens, pulling Zach towards space.
Close hatch. Close hatch.
He grabs onto Sela and tries to close the hatch while struggling against her. During the fight, he stabs her with a knife. Christopher attacks Zach and pushes him toward the opening. But during the struggle, he is also pulled outside into space. Before Zach can fully close the hatch, Sela manages to kick him out. She then searches for Christopher and eventually finds him holding onto the outside of the ship. The two manage to return safely inside and inform the remaining crew that Zach is gone. Everyone lowers their weapons, bringing the conflict to an end.
Put your guns down. Zach's gone.
Later, the crew gathers for a meal in the ship's dining room. Sela asks Christopher how they can prevent another situation like this from happening again in the future. The crew listens to more of Richard's recordings, where he explains that even after facing failures and hardships, the people who continue the mission prove that humanity deserves a future. Afterward, they hold another vote to choose a new chief officer, and Sela is selected to lead the crew. Sela records a new diary entry explaining that all major decisions will be made through voting from that point forward. She also confirms that the crew will continue living without the blue liquid.
Hey Chief, we just started those updates.
With their new system in place, everyone works together to repair the ship, rebuild trust, and restore peace among the crew. As time passes, Sela becomes pregnant with Christopher's child, and the baby is eventually born. Years later, the child grows up alongside the other children born during the journey. The younger generations continue developing on the ship, while the original crew members grow older and watch the next generation prepare for their future. After 86 years of travel, they finally reach their destination and prepare to land on the new planet. The older and younger generations look toward their new home as the mission reaches its final stage, marking the beginning of a new chapter for humanity.